What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be checking out the Diamond Select Toys Marvel Select Disney Store exclusive. This is Guardians of the Galaxy member Drax. Now, if you wanted to check out Drax's first appearance, you'll want to check out Iron Man number 55 back in 1973. Before we get to anything else, let's take the measurements for Drax here, which stands about 7.5 inches tall for this particular figure. He comes with the same, well, not quite the same, but a same similar decoed display as the Star-Lord we just recently had a look at. Unfortunately, once again, no pegs anywhere on the base itself, which I'm kind of surprised that Diamond Select didn't incorporate that. As this really being the base of operations for the figure to be standing on, I'm surprised again that there's no pegs whatsoever. Bringing in the piece that came with Star-Lord, I kind of had to look at the back of the packaging to figure out where everything came together. And from what I can gather, this piece, now I actually can remember which way it was. Oh, it's this piece, yeah, just like that. These little two connectors come together. And I guess really while we're at it, we flip it upside down. We can take these little clip pieces and just snap those into place. And eventually, when I do get still haven't picked up the Groot, unfortunately, but hopefully we'll have that all finished together. You can kind of see how everything comes together. I mean, you really don't have to, you only peg really where they'll connect. And you get something that looks like this. And now there'll be a piece here, and then there will be a piece here, and then all your figures will stand on top of that. But again, like no pegs whatsoever to kind of just get all the figures standing properly on top. Needless to say, let's move that to the side, and let's have a look at this glorious looking figure. Now, I absolutely adore this figure. And I'm looking at it, and I just got to say, it's got one of the coolest head sculpts. If I had any sort of capabilities to be a customizer, I would be salivating all over this backdrop. There would be just puddles of my spit. Ew. There'd be puddles of my spit all over this backdrop as I would be salivating the idea of what I could possibly do with this figure's head. It has a neutral and yet very defined face sculpt, but it's so good. How good is it? It's so good that, again, like if you had the means to customize this, you could really go to town with a head sculpt this beautiful. Taking nothing away, obviously, from the rest of his body. His torso is really good. I mean, again, some of this you may have to do a little tweaking if you want to change this to a different figure. I wouldn't even say, and in no way am I saying let's destroy this figure and turn it into something else, because this figure is so good. I love the paint on him, incorporating some nice dark greens. It's a green, I would almost say is like a forest green. It's not something that if I was coloring back in the day and I had a selection of markers, this would be the green that would get overlooked. Am I the only one that thinks that? Like if you had a pack of markers, let's say a 24 pack, let's say your parents got you a 16 pack, I don't know, whatever colors would be available, this would be the color that I would not use growing up. That and kind of like that caramel brown. Never use that. I would never say to myself, I really need to use this green. And yet works so well when it comes to Drax here. You got the reds that pop on this figure, which actually, the more I look at it, reminds me of Freddy Krueger's shirt, his sweater. Those two conflicting greens and reds work well for Freddy Krueger, work equally well here for Drax. Like the little areas of his eyes that are in that red as well, where the very piercing yellow pupils, or yellow eyeballs here, stand out. But what, again, a glorious looking head sculpt. He's got some nice metallic It's almost actually the same sort of metal, just like one shade lighter than Star-Lord's, where we've got this beautiful gunmetal gray making up all the gauntlet areas, the belts, well, singular belt, and of course his hands. Tons of detail on this guy. Again, you got some nice of that metallic silver there with some red accents. The boots have a nice, beautiful sculpt to them as well. All the little armor platelets here. There's the back of it. I love also how the undersides of his soles are sculpted in too. I don't know why that makes me just stop for a second and really appreciate craftsmanship. When you would take the time to sculpt the undersides of a shoe on a figure, because you really don't. You're never going to just hold a figure like this or display a figure. Imagine walking into somebody's house and they've just got a shelf with all these figures laying down where he wants to display or she wants to display just the undersoles of the shoes. That's a little creepy. There's the back of it right there. Some nice deco. A more simplistic looking design of his tattoos. Not quite as busy as he would have in the movies. Just to go ahead and give you guys a size comparison. Let's move everything out of the way here. A size comparison to the Star-Lord that we just had a look at. One consistent trend I've noticed with these particular figures is the fact that the legs don't feel loose per se, that I can shake and the legs are flopping all over the place. But there is a little bit of wiggle in both the knees and also in the feet. I guess you could say that that is loose. But I've noticed that the Star-Lord, even during the time I was reviewing him, also has that kind of loose little bit of a leg, a little bit in the knee there, a little bit in the knee, a little bit also in the feet, which is unfortunate. But I mean, again, it's not hindering necessarily getting them to stand. I mean, if you get them properly to stand, they'll stand perfectly fine. But there's the comparison between the two figures. You can see Drax does stand a little bit taller than Star-Lord. I guess that's not 100% fair. Let's straighten out Star-Lord's legs as best we can. You can see, again, a little loose there. A little loose for my liking. And, again, like he stands a little bit shorter than Drax. I dramatically paused for a second so I could just move the camera back. Move that to the side. Now, Drax does come with not a ton of accessories, at least from the metal and weapons department. He does certainly come with a lot of hands, though. Let's first look at this beautiful-looking sword that he has. Now, this sword would probably weigh like 1,000 pounds. I'm only exaggerating, of course, but it would be a substantially heavy sword. I don't think I would be able to wield a sword this big. Nice cranberry red there, accenting the handle portion, which, again, very similar to the red areas. Almost identical to the torso of Drax. We've got some nice spikes sticking out from the handle. The rounded portion, the guard area, I suppose, of the hilt. And some nice silver there as well. Silver on the blade. Very, very mild in the way of a deco here on the blade itself, but still gets the point across. Oh, I laugh at myself. He also comes with a somewhat substantial battle axe. You want to talk not being able to wield. If I didn't think I could wield this, brother, there's no way I'd be able to wield this. And yet I'm sure he must be able to wield it. If not, the figure wouldn't be able to come included with it. Kind of a nice cranberry, almost raspberry pink color for the translucent plastic. There's my hand right there. It almost looks so good. You think it would be like a lollipop. This would be a lollipop you would not want to put into your mouth. Just a magnet, it seems, for hair. I got some hair on the blade there. Again, you've got some nice silver there. About the same silver as the blade, maybe a shade darker. Again, very minimal looking design deco on the handle portion, but you can take the axe or sword, depending on your preference, and you can have them displayed with it. Now, obviously, that will add some substantial weight to the figure. In the beginning, I had the axe over his shoulder, which you can almost accomplish. It does stick up a little bit, but you can almost accomplish a full over-the-shoulder, cool guy walking into a bar sort of pose. I mean, if you were to walk into a bar with a battle axe over your shoulder like this, for starters, you probably would be you would be sent out immediately. Somebody would escort you out. But that's BA, if you know what BA is. And I guess you could double wield it. You could put the sword in the other hand if you so wish. but that's a lot of cool. That's almost too much cool for one character to possess. So let's go ahead and take this out of his hand. We'll put that right to the side. We'll put the sword to the side. And again, he has a bunch of interchangeable hands. Let's look at those right now. Some closed fists, if closed fists is your thing. I mean, it seems, I don't know, to have this much going on, that's cool. It just seems such a shame to have closed fists attached to a figure's arms. On the contrary, he does also have some grasping hands. This one already is in the socket. And he also has another grasping hand. And he also has a partially closed or gripping hand as well, should you wish to have him holding both weapons. Let's have a look at his posability. His head is on a ball joint, of course. You got your universal joints for the shoulders. They rotate all the way around. He has a swivel at the bicep. Just a single hinge in the forearm. And it does not actually swivel like it did with the Star-Lord. Also has rotation and hinge in the hand via the universal joint there. You got your upper torso ball joint, which is really stiff on this figure. It doesn't seem like he has any sort of waist swivel, likely due to the way that the belt is sculpted. A forward and back motion on the legs. You got your splits going on there as well. Split. Speaking of splits, a swivel cut on the thigh. You got your double hinge on the knee, but again, really, it's funny enough, like the top of the knee is so loose, or somewhat loose for my liking, and yet the secondary hinge is extremely tight. Like, there it is right there, but there was a lot of stress to get that to go. And you finally got your hinge in the feet. No, a little bit of ankle pivot, but mostly a hinge back and forth. I love this figure. I'm not afraid to admit it. And I certainly think for a customizer, you could really go to town, whatever town that might be, and you could customize this guy to do some really cool things. You could turn him into, I don't really know, you could turn him into, I can't think of anything right now, but mark my words, I'm sure some customizer right now is just jotting down stuff on his paper, on his arm, on the dog, any ideas that he quickly has popping into his head as to what he could possibly do with this figure. Once again, a glorious looking specimen from the folks over at Diamond Select. Again, I say this all the time, and I still stand by it. Like, what they produce for Marvel Select stuff easily trumps what you get with Marvel Legends. You pay a little bit more for it, but in no way do they say that does Diamond Select, and I'm speaking on Diamond Select's part, no way do they think to themselves, you know what, how many ways can we use this mold for another figure? Which is something, obviously, that they do a lot for Marvel Legends. Marvel Select just does it, and they do it right all night. Again, a great-looking figure. He is a Disney Store exclusive, so if you were to go, for example, into Target, brother, you wouldn't find this guy. You could ask the people nearby you, hey, you know, is the Disney Store exclusive Drax here? People would scratch their head and say, you do realize you're in Target. Yeah, I know. Does that mean you guys are out of stock? Yeah, you would be probably ridiculed and escorted out. Probably not escorted out as quickly as somebody who's wielding a battle axe over their shoulder, but you would be escorted out nonetheless. If you guys like this video, certainly hit it with a like. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to this channel yet, what are you waiting for? A giant battle axe over the shoulder of a guy walking into a bar? I'd pay to see that. And then I probably would leave for fear that this guy's going to be using the battle axe. Hit that little subscribe button down below. You're good to go. Also, if you guys are fans of upcoming releases, you can head over to Diamond Select's YouTube channel, where you can see up-and-coming pieces before they come out. It's almost like you're doing something deceptive. Like, how am I able to see all this stuff before it comes out to the stores? Well, that's the beauty of YouTube. That's the beauty of Diamond Select's YouTube channel. So I'll put the link down below for that as well. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do. See you next time.